The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden hues over the winding paths of Central Park. The air was crisp, tinged with the scent of freshly cut grass and distant coffee stalls. On a worn wooden bench, a young woman sat alone. She traced her fingers along the handle of her cane, feeling the familiar grooves. This was her favorite spot, a quiet corner near the lake, where she could escape the chaos of the city. But today, something felt. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. She straightened, her senses sharpening. A presence lingered nearby, not moving, not passing by, just standing there. Then, a sharp tug. Her purse ripped from her shoulder, a sudden force pulling her forward. Her breath hitched, her grip tightened, a struggle. But before she could even scream, a growl, low, deep, dangerous. Then, an impact, a body hitting the ground, a startled yell. What had just happened? Who had saved her? Emma had always been an independent and adventurous young woman. She loved hiking, running through the city's crowded streets, and waking up early to watch the sunrise. The world was full of colors, and she cherished every shade of it. But in an instant, everything changed. One evening, as she was walking home from her part-time job at a local cafe, the sound of screeching tires filled the air. Before she could react, a car sped through a red light and crashed into her. The impact sent her flying across the pavement, and the last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her world was the flashing red signal of the traffic light. When Emma woke up in the hospital, she was engulfed in confusion and pain. Her body ached, but something was even more terrifying than the pain. She couldn't see. At first, she thought it was just the effect of the accident. Maybe the swelling in her head was causing temporary blindness. But as the days turned into weeks, doctors confirmed her worst fear. Her vision was gone. She would never see the sunrise again. Emma's world collapsed. She fell into a deep depression, refusing to talk to her friends or family. She could hear the sorrow in her parents' voices as they tried to comfort her. But nothing they said could bring back the life she had lost. The girl who once ran through open fields was now trapped in darkness. She hated needing help with simple tasks. Every movement felt like a battle. Pouring water, picking out clothes, even walking around the house became frustratingly difficult. She missed the small joys of life, watching people smile, reading books, and staring at the city skyline from her bedroom window. Her parents did everything they could to support her, but no amount of love could fill the void left by her blindness. She stopped eating properly, barely spoke, and spent most of her time in bed. She felt like a burden to everyone around her, like a ghost of the girl she used to be. But her parents refused to give up on her. They knew they couldn't bring back her sight, but they could still bring back her hope. One quiet morning, Emma sat in her room, lost in the silence, when she heard the sound of paws clicking against the wooden floor. Then, something warm and soft nudged her hand. She flinched, startled. "Emma," her mother said gently, "we have someone who wants to meet you." Emma hesitated, her fingers trembling as she reached out. Her hands brushed against fur, thick, soft, and comforting. Then, she felt a wet nose press against her palm. A sudden breath of warmth tickled her skin, and before she could pull away, a tongue licked her fingers playfully. She gasped. "He's a guide dog," her father said. "His name is Max. He's yours now." Emma's heart pounded in her chest. A dog? She hadn't expected this. She barely knew how to take care of herself. How could she take care of an animal? "Try holding his leash," her mother suggested. With hesitation, Emma reached out and found the leather strap in her hands. The dog sat patiently, as if waiting for her to take the first step. Slowly, she ran her fingers over his body, feeling the sturdy muscles beneath his golden fur. He was warm, steady, and strong. Something inside her stirred, a tiny flicker of something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Over the next few days, Emma learned more about Max. He was a Labrador retriever, trained to be a guide dog for the blind. He knew how to navigate obstacles, stop at curbs, and led her safely wherever she needed to go. But more than that, he was patient and kind. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, Max was there. When she cried in frustration, he would press his head against her chest, silently offering comfort. When she stumbled, he would steady her, his strong body an anchor in her unsteady world. Her parents watched in relief as Emma started spending more time outside her room. She began to relearn the world, one step at a time. with Max by her side. For the first time since the accident, Emma smiled. She wasn't alone anymore. It had been months since Emma lost her sight. But with Max by her side, she was slowly reclaiming her life. She still had moments of frustration and sadness, but she had learned to navigate the world in a new way. The late afternoon sun bathed the park in a golden hue. Emma sat on a wooden bench, her fingers resting on the cool metal of her cane. She inhaled deeply, savoring the fresh scent of grass and the distant aroma of roasted coffee from a nearby vendor. It was peaceful, one of the rare moments where she could almost forget the darkness that had swallowed her world. Max had wandered off just a few minutes ago. She had unhooked his leash to let him stretch after their walk. He never went far, he was always near, always alert, or at least, that's what she thought. As she sat there, basking in the quiet, a strange sensation crawled up her spine. A presence. At first, she tried to ignore it, but the feeling grew stronger. Then came the footsteps. Slow, deliberate, approaching. Emma stiffened. "Hey there." The voice was male, deep, smooth, too casual. Emma turned slightly toward the sound. Her grip on her cane tightened. "Hello," she responded cautiously. The man chuckled. "You come here often?" Her heart skipped. Something about his tone felt off. Too familiar, too amused, like he was toying with her. She hesitated. "Sometimes," she answered carefully. "All by yourself?" Emma's stomach twisted. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to stay calm. "I'm waiting for someone," she lied. A pause, then another low chuckle. "That's so?" He didn't believe her. She could feel it. Emma subtly reached down, feeling for Max's leash. Her fingers met nothing but the rough fabric of the bench. "Where is he?" Panic flared in her chest. She forced herself to stay composed. "I should be going," she said, standing up, but before she could take a step, the man moved. Fast, a shuffling sound, then a shadow loomed closer. "Whoa, whoa," he said, mockingly. "No need to rush. We were just getting to know each other." Emma's breath hitched. She had no idea where exactly he was standing, but she felt his presence. Too close, invasive. She turned slightly, angling her cane toward the sound, trying to create distance. "I don't want to talk," she said, her voice firm. "Please step back." The amusement in his tone vanished. "You're kinda rude, aren't you?" Emma's heart pounded against her ribs. Then, a sharp yank. Her purse. She gasped, barely processing the movement before the strap wrenched painfully against her shoulder. "Hey," she shouted, her hands gripping onto the bag instinctively. The man's voice darkened. "Let go." Emma refused. She yanked back, adrenaline surging through her. "Give it up, sweetheart," he sneered. "It's not like you can chase me." A wave of cold terror flooded her body. He was right. She was blind, alone, vulnerable, and he knew it. The world blurred into chaos, the struggle, the pounding of her pulse, the suffocating helplessness of the moment. Then, a sound, a deep, earth-shaking growl, the kind that made the air vibrate. Emma barely had time to react before a force, fast, powerful, unstoppable, crashed into the man. The impact sent him sprawling backward with a startled yell. Emma stumbled, gasping, gripping her purse to her chest. Then, a snarl, a presence beside her, warm, protective, unyielding. The man hit the ground hard, cursing under his breath as he scrambled to his feet. Emma's heart pounded as she heard him stumble back. But he wasn't giving up. "You little mutt," he spat, his voice dripping with fury. Emma clutched Max's leash, her fingers trembling. She couldn't see what was happening, but she could feel the tension in the air, the raw anger radiating from the man and the protective energy from Max, standing like an immovable shield between them. Then, a sudden movement. The man lunged. Emma barely had time to react before Max exploded forward. A deep, thunderous growl tore through the air as Max launched himself at the attacker with terrifying speed. His powerful body crashed into the man's legs, sending him staggering backward again. The man let out a sharp yell. "Get off me, you stupid dog," he howled, flailing as Max snapped at him, forcing him to stumble further away from Emma. But Max wasn't letting him go. The dog's sharp barks cut through the air, fierce and unrelenting, his muscles coiled like a spring, ready to attack again if necessary. Emma gripped her cane with one hand and clutched her purse with the other. Her whole body was shaking, but she refused to crumble. Then, amidst the chaos, "Help!" she screamed, her voice echoing through the park. Footsteps, voices, people rushing over. What's going on? A man shouted. That guy was attacking her. Another voice chimed in. Emma heard the scuffle, the sound of hurried movement, of hands grabbing at the attacker. Someone must have tackled him because he let out another yell of protest. Let me go, man, the attacker snarled. Not a chance. A deep voice responded. You're done. Emma gasped, feeling an arm gently touch her shoulder. Miss, are you okay? She nodded shakily, still gripping Max's leash. I think so. Max pressed against her, his steady presence grounding her in the moment. She reached down, running her fingers over his fur. He was still tense, his breathing heavy. It's okay, buddy, she whispered. You did so good. Max gave a soft whine, nuzzling her hand. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. The crowd around them murmured as the flashing lights of a police car illuminated the park. Over here, someone called. Emma listened as two officers approached. One of them spoke with a firm yet calm voice. What happened here? Several people started talking at once. He was attacking this young woman. Her dog defended her. He tried to rob her. Emma flinched as she heard the man struggle against whoever was holding him down. I didn't do nothing, he snapped. Save it, an officer said coldly. You're under arrest. The sound of handcuffs clicking shut sent a wave of relief crashing over Emma. She took a deep breath, exhaling shakily. It was over. The officers took her statement, listening attentively as she recounted what had happened. They assured her that the man would be charged and that she wouldn't have to worry about him anymore. Would you like a ride home, miss? One of the officers asked gently. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Yes, please. She reached for Max's leash, and as if sensing her exhaustion, he stayed close, guiding her toward the police car. The ride home was quiet. Emma sat in the backseat, her fingers buried in Max's fur. She was still shaken, but through the fear, she felt something else, gratitude. When they arrived at her apartment, the officers walked her to the door, making sure she was safe before leaving. As soon as they were gone, Emma collapsed onto her couch, her legs weak. Max hopped up beside her, pressing his warm body against her side. Emma let out a shaky laugh. You saved me today, Max. Max gave a small, happy bark and licked her cheek. She wrapped her arms around him, burying her face in his fur. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she hadn't in months. Safe, protected, and no longer alone.
What do you think about today's story? Do you believe situations like this can happen in real life? If you have any thoughts or feedback, feel free to leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exciting stories. See you in the next video.